per usual, a little fooling around, a little tomfoolery, but a lot of good work, I like to think anyways. So a lot of my rowing is done on these hammer strength pieces, and I'm gonna start doing it honestly all together, just yeah, unilaterally. And reason for this, just gonna make the machine fit me a little bit better. And the reason that it works this way is because so the pivot points of the machine, they're gonna just line up better with my shoulder when I can kind of just scoot myself. Oh, by the way, so hey, not bad. Dell's looking good, but I'll tell you what. So posing is a little bit about like creating your own smokes and mirrors. So if you guys learned something today, it's going to be how to hit a good most muscular. So basically what you do is you protract your shoulders forward like this. So open up your scapula, internally rotate, and boom. Now this looks like it's like makes you look wider than you actually are. So anyhow, back to the topic at hand. Yeah, it's going to help me line up a little bit better with those pivot points over there. So again, we do this with for example, a leg extension. Is like we make sure we line up our knee with the machine, right? So same thing with this. And this is something that I started doing when I hurt my neck sleeping a few weeks back. And this was really the only way I could make it work so that it wasn't just re-aggravating the area. So yeah, takes twice as long, but it's going to keep me healthy. So along with that, so I think previous years, I don't think I had been respecting all the zigzaggy musculature that we do have in our upper back area, or I mean our whole back, right? So for example, going back to kind of posing, and this might be a little bit nuanced for some of you guys, but so for example, when you see bodybuilders kind of hit that Christmas tree pose, like where your humerus goes, like how they're angled matters, right? Like you're not gonna get the Christmas tree to really pop up if you're doing it like this or like this, absolutely not. So kind of rowing here to like my hip, and yeah, it makes sense. And then in regards to immediate feedback, so I think one thing that the pump does tell you, as long as you're not skewing with the other variables too much, it's not like you're doing like super high reps or shorter rest periods, things like that. Yeah, it's like if you're rowing and you're only getting a big pump like in your arms, and like literally your back is like looks the same, or if you're like again like your chest pressing and triceps get a good pump, but nothing up here, it's like maybe there might be something there technique wise that we need to fix. So in regards to immediate feedback, my lower lats have just been, feels like my kidneys are swollen, man, which I'm pretty sure they're not. But so yeah, I'm excited for this. I think I'm seeing a difference. You know how it goes with yeah, with this whole physique thing. It's like you can convince yourself of like 8 different things in a like rather short period of time. So so yeah, but so far I'm like, oh wow, I feel like it's only been a few sessions, but I feel like there's a little something back there. We'll see. Stay tuned. As I figure things out and they work, I'll tell you guys. But the same thing, if I like try something, it just doesn't work, I'll be the first to admit that yeah, that didn't go 100% according to plan. So these babies right here, ooh. So the stick again is to stabilize me, so that it's pretty hard when you're being yanked in this direction to basically keep all this still and have this be the only thing that's moving. So stability, ooh, it's yeah, it's like it's when it comes to like hypertrophy specific training, it's a good thing. So it's like again, like chest supported rowing, it's like, why have your hip and your lower back musculature work hard to keep you in a position so that your back can do its thing, when we can just use variations with it, have you all nice and stabilized throughout the torso. So so yeah, that's what that stick is for. It's just basically boom, and I'm able to keep this moving in, mostly just this. You might see a few reps that are a little, well, I guess not perfect or as textbook as I like, but again, that's another way to, keep things progressing. Like I think previous years, I've been, even looking back now, a bit more loose with my form than maybe I should have been. And again, this is something that I think it's funny. It's guys around my age that have told me forever, but at the same time, I understand why for some of the young dudes it's hard to understand some of the old, like to really reason with some of the old heads, because sometimes when you're younger, they discount some of the input you have. So I've been that young 20-something that knows a thing or two, and I feel like these older dudes ain't listening to me. But at the same time, it's like, I wasn't doing such a good job. So yeah, especially when it comes to single joint movements, especially I think in the upper body, man, like just form matters. And yeah, like have you guys ever seen like Jeff Alberts like grind out like some of his single joint work? I think especially when it comes to arms, it's like everything is still, with the exception of what he's trying to target, and like the dude stays so like zen, like he's like there's something more complicated going on than like what it might appear like from just like looking at it from the outside. Like he's really ensuring that, yeah, if it's a curl, it's like really just his biceps that are tugging. So like my loads on these haven't moved up a whole lot maybe in the last 4 or 5 months, but like in regards to form, it's getting so much better, and I can see it in my arms. Like I have like maybe you can't see it all the way right now, but like, man, I've never had like these splits like this at this heavy of a body weight. So there you go, a little something there. So it's working. So yeah, man. Technical mastery takes so long, even with these like simple like movements, and I think it is because you're constantly, again, you understand how stuff works. You're looking to progress, add weight. So that is kind of throwing an extra variable there. It's throwing a wrench in there. So I can see why sometimes it takes a bit longer. But yeah, man, I'm trying to keep these squeaky clean. And again, I think especially with arm stuff, shoulder stuff, like lateral raises specifically, you have all these joints like underneath this, and they all can, like, just a little tap of the toe can help like get you that little bro spot that perhaps gives you a few reps that you probably shouldn't have taken to begin with. So yeah, this thing here, the Romanian deadlift, hey, it's looking better. It's not exactly where I'd like it to be, but it's looking better. So one thing I did get feedback on is I guess maybe my knees being too bent, and it's a spectrum with this thing. Like it's almost to the point where it's like, what is this stiff leg? What's a Romanian, right? So the more bent your knees are, the more glutes you're going to get. And then the straighter they are, the more hamstring dominant it's going to be. And I think a little bit more lower back dominant as well. So again, like you kind of play within those parameters of acceptable for a hip hinge. So more than anything, I'm just trying to have it look a little bit more like my good morning, because I really thought that was kind of the best of both worlds. Because again, I think like my glutes, super developed area on me. But I would not be opposed to them getting better, just because again, like that's the straighted glutes is like the hallmark of being in shape. And if you can have more poke out through there, you're gonna look leaner than you are. Not that you should try to take it all off, the fat, I mean, but nevertheless, like if I could bring more detail into that area, more muscularity, I'm with that. So again, that's the angle we're gonna play with for now. Over time, I think it might morph a little bit, but I think I want it to be like relatively balanced, the hip hinge. Okay, so these pause squats, I think I'm finally, yeah, I found a home in regards to, yeah, just um, keeping track of like all my body parts. So I like how these look. Again, the squat more than anything is there for sport, because I think around this time last year I hit that 500-pound squat, and I think had there been no lockdown, I think at this point I would have probably hit a 550. Had I taken another year and extended it, let's just say 2021, no prep, I think at that point I might have hit a 600, which like for me as like really a bodybuilder, squatting about once-ish a week, like I'd be pretty like pumped about that. So but again, that's not how things are. um, I think before the year's over I'll be able to get back to like the 500, and then we'll see where it takes us. And again, it's like, as much as I do think I want to prep next year, it's we have to see, yeah, just how clear it looks in regards to shows actually happening. So yeah, squat mostly for sport. This is my money maker in regards to quad building. Last off season, you know, like I think my quads and my delts were areas that I'm just kind of like, hey, well, you know, not necessarily whatever happens, but you know, they're good enough. Whereas this year, I'm like, you know, this prep, I mean, this off season, which I guess honestly, this off season is my next prep, because your shows are one in the off season, right? They absolutely are. So again, I am preparing myself for like my next show right now. But I'm like, you know what, like most of the time, like my quads tend to be among the best up there, even at the highest level. And it's not necessarily that they're big. I think it's they tie into super small waist. So thanks, mom and dad. So I'm like, okay, so they have good shape, good separation, good lines. Why not try to maximize that and like just really give the judges something to remember? I think especially because, again, in bodybuilding, hey, the judges are humans, man. First impressions do matter. So when you hit that front relaxing, if your shoulders are just like boom, look at that, and your quads are popping, like they're going to remember that. So yeah, this off season we're definitely yeah, just training those areas with a little bit more vigor, a little bit more volume, and yeah, and it's fun, because again, like it's fun to train with strong body parts. So yeah, so yeah, we're actually training legs pretty hardcore this off season, and they tend to be some of my hardest days, some of my longest days, but man, do I enjoy them. And almost like regardless, look at that, Thicky Martin over there. So yeah, we're big right now. I don't mind it, 'cause I like feeling big, but at the same time, I'm taking up space. 200 pounds most days in the morning, 40 pounds over contest weight. Scary when you think about it. That's a lot of dieting, but again, the fat loss part, we have that down. And again, I don't start my preps at this body weight. I trim some down. I have a mini cut, set myself up, and usually start them at about 180. But yeah, again, this off season, I think, like I take pride in my strength, 100%, but at the same time, trying to be, I guess, bodybuilder strong. So that's the pauses here. This is, again, like usually like one of my stronger lifts. And if I don't pause, like I'm human. I've dealt with this Burt dude long enough, where it's like I know what he's prone to. So with the pauses, again, it's like I'm not too close to the, like I won't be hitting the 130s, the 140s for quite a while, and it keeps me from, yeah, like my eyes being bigger than my muscles are, basically. So pauses, again, I can get a lot more out of like less weight. So again, like yeah, maybe for this rep range, I could have hit that top set at like maybe 120, 125, and then maybe my back offs could have been like 105. But I'm getting virtually the same amount of tension from just pausing, and again, not having the yeah, not having other structures help out more than I'd like. Um, so yeah, it's been good. It's been good, and I wish I would have, you know, um, yeah, started doing this earlier. But again, you live and you learn. However, I do hope that somewhere out there there is a young man or woman who is uh, tuning in, and they're going to be different, and they're going to go ahead and, again, like, do their homework, learn their stuff, and and possibly teach me things, right? But at the same time, um, they can learn from others' mistakes, and and again, I was so stubborn. I still am, man. I still am. And again, that's one of the reasons that we're pausing, just because I don't want to make those leaps when I'm not 100% ready for it. Um, but yeah, speaking of like strong man, strong woman, and, bodybuilder dude, bodybuilder chick, I guess one thing I've noticed, just, and when it comes to just, gender specific, common, yeah, just things that I've dealt with as a coach, is that, like, dudes are usually, they don't use reps enough to progress. They want to add load, like, too frequently. And then with women, it's almost the other way around, where it's like they like the reps too much, and sometimes they don't make those jumps in load when they should. Um, so there you go. Hey, look at that. Hey, my upper shelf is like really starting, just like, I can't show you guys right now, but just kind of like my arms, like, it's, like, I think even before I lifted weights, like, I had my little, like, thin man pecs, but they were all down here, and this was just ribs and collarbone. So I've always kind of, like, I guess I've held myself back with, like, my thinking. I'm like, I'm not destined to have a shelf, and maybe I'm not. But this off season, again, huge improvements to that area. I do think I'm going to mini cut at the start of next year, just in case I decide to prep at some point, say June, July, for the fall winter shows. Yeah, set myself up for that. So basically lose a quick 25 pounds. I know it sounds like a lot, but it'll probably be, it's going to be more than a mini cut in that case, right? So it's probably going to be about a 10-ish week cut, realistically, I think. We'll see. Get myself somewhere in I think the 170s. I'll honestly probably lose like 8 pounds like the first 10 days. That's usually how it goes. But yeah, I think we'll be able to look at what's going on, really assess what's been working, what hasn't, and yeah, I think at that point decide whether or not we're actually going with it or not. Hey, look, the shoulders even, and again, for me, it was just basically, yeah, look, I'm like this. Hey, that was today. I'm wearing the same outfit, and just kind of like smashing, again, like getting my shoulders away from my ears, which for many things in the weight room is a good cue. So yeah, that's what it was. I know a lot of people are like, hey, you should jam this in there, and look, like foam rolling and I guess pre-training in some cases, just kind of playing and manipulating with the soft tissue. Not a bad idea, but I don't think it's in most cases a super permanent solution. Like, it's not necessarily passive, but usually if something's hurting and you're tight on one side and crooked, etc., whatever, it's like you go see your PT, and a good PT is going to give you homework to do, and you do that homework, and it's tough and it's hard because a lot of that is on you, but that's what's going to most of the time really nip these things in the butt, more so than like, hey, take a lacrosse ball and smash it. So again, I think it works, but more so as a band-aid solution, and there's more yeah, there's better long-term ways of getting around that. There are things that will actually, again, nip the situation in the butt is what I mean. Hey, look, those arms are getting somewhere, those elbows feel better. And yeah, like I'm digging my arms. So that's pretty good for me. And I think once we trim it down, I'm wearing like my sleeveless shirts, my broke cutoffs. I think we'll see something that looks just a little bit different from previous years. So yeah, I'm happy with how things are going. Look at that, I'm trying to grind like Jeffrey Alberts here. just like poise, zen, like the room turns black and white. It's not that he edits it, it just turns black and white. Like that's just what happens when you're that focused. So anyhow, this was a good cluster set. Again, look through the sheet. I used a lot of that outside of like my first few movements on most days. With that said, appreciate you guys showing up. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I don't know. I'm no words can describe how I feel about the support that you guys give me. So thank you. See you guys next week. And yeah.